Alright guys, welcome back. In this video we're going to continue and we're going to be working on the API and the reducers for the recipe. So I'm going to start with the API. And it's going to be based on the services one, and again I'm just going to copy that and paste it in and then fix everything because that seems to be kind of the easiest, and then just remove the things I don't need. Yeah. So we're going to import, we don't need app I don't think, we just need recipes service from the index. So that's this file right here, and let's actually add that. Oh, we already did add that. That's this thing. Now let's just do all our stuff. Alright, and now we're just going to go through this and fix it. So here we'll have an async function, and here what we'll do is we'll do the try catch error, and then if there's an error we'll return an empty list, console log error. Else what we'll do is we'll return await, and then recipes.find payload. So what we're going to be doing is actually just passing in this query here as a parameter to this. That way you don't even have to, I can make this as generic as possible. So I can actually change this to, for example, find recipes, and now it's this generic thing. And this should be recipes service. So now if I go back to my sagas, instead of calling get recent recipes and then also this one here, fetch recipe, which is then just another find operation, and then here's another find operation. So fetch recipe, fetch my recipe. Really, we only need one called, so fetch my recipe we don't need, fetch recipe we don't need, get recent recipes. All we need is find recipes, and then we call that in multiple places. Find. So fetch recent recipes, we'll do find recipes, pass in the payload, which we'll put here. And same thing here, find recipes, and then each one will do a different query, so it's unique to that one. So, oops, find recipes. So that reuses a lot of code now, and now we don't have that problem. And then this should be getting from the local API now. Is that actually all we needed? And then also create. Okay, that's not bad at all. So actually, there's not a lot going on here. So create recipe, export async function, and then here this will just be payload, and then okay, we're authenticating, and then we're creating. I don't know if we actually need to authenticate like this because it should pass in this stuff. We'll see. I might do an await, authenticate, and then do it. If we get not authenticated, then we can change this, but I'm gonna just remove that authentication for now. So what we'll do is we'll just return. Also notice how much shorter these functions are now, that we, for example, don't have to create this service. We just do recipes service, and it should be grabbing that here. Why is it not auto-completing? That's weird. Maybe because there's an error and it doesn't like it. Anyway, create and then payload. Alright, so that's good. So now we're actually all done with our API. Now we can work on a reducer. So So it looks like there's multiple reducers we had here. We had cur recipe, my recipes, and recipes. So let's do them one at a time. And we'll need sagas, bink. We just need, actually sorry, nope, we need the reducers. Here we go. Okay, so we'll create cur user, or sorry, cur recipe. So there'll be fetch recipe done. So that's recipe fetch done. And did we create that action? Recipe fetch done, we did. And then here, instead of combining the actions, because each action is going to be a little bit different, we'll do recipe fetch done. And then here, what we'll do is, looks like we're doing actions dot length recipe. Okay, got it. So we're checking the length of it. If it returns an empty array, we just, okay. So we can actually do the same thing here. So unpack the payload. And the payload's actually going to be the recipe. So we can do payload.length. If it exists, then we can do payload.0. Else we can return an empty object. And notice how it knows what type to listen for, because we're passing in that function that we created. Okay. So cur recipe is done. I don't think we're going to need to be combining any actions. Now my recipes, do the same thing. So export const my recipes. That's going to be listening for the my recipe fetch done. We're not auto completing. Let's double check my recipe fetch done, my recipe fetch done, my recipe fetch done. Okay. I didn't know if it was recipes because we have my recipes here. That's kind of a weird naming thing that I did. And I'm actually just returning payload here. Okay. And then the default, this is what the, I didn't explain this, but so you have this part here. And then that's basically the logic. And then here what you have is the default one. So the default, for example, for this is just an empty array. Okay, so we should have that here. Now the last one is recipes. So recipes is basically just this thing, but we're just listening for a different action here. Oops. So that's going to be recent recipes succeeded. And then recipes here, and then recent recipes succeeded. Yep, and then we're good. So now we're done with our reducers. Now we just want to add our reducers to the root reducer. So here we have our user stuff there. We can import cur recipe, my recipes, and recipes. And we can get this from the recipe/reducers. And then we can do the same thing. We can import recipe sagas from recipe/sagas. So now it makes it really easy to add these here. We can just copy this, and now we do recipe sagas, and now recipe sagas will be forked and be listening for. Now here, what I'll do is I'm going to add cur recipe, my recipes, and recipes. Cool. Now it's all added, and now our recipe module and user module are done. So now that we have this like nice little module place where we have everything, what we can actually do now is we delete reducers. We delete actions, and we delete sagas. We delete services. So all that junk is gone. Now we have this nice split up and organized in our modules. So that's how that's broken up. And I might have forgotten to implement slightly parts of it, but my plan is with this is to just go ahead and restructure everything and then start testing and going back and fixing things. So we might have to go back and look at some of the stuff I deleted, but saved in Git, so we should be fine, and change it. For the most part, modules is good. Modules is good. And so all our Redux Saga, Redux stuff is done. Now we're really just going to be messing next with the components and the routes and getting that all working. So that's it for this video, and that's what's going to be coming up in the future. In the next video, we'll be doing that. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you soon.